a group of children, an isolated island, and a body count that says everything about human nature. Netflix's Lord of the Flies doesn't just tell a dark story, every single death in it means something. And once you understand what each one represents, the whole show hits completely differently. Hey guys, welcome back to Movizo, your go-to spot for everything movies, web series, and entertainment news. Today we're breaking down every major death in Netflix's Lord of the Flies, what happened, why it happened, and what it all actually means beneath the surface. Let's get into it. So first, a little context. Lord of the Flies is based on William Golding's 1954 novel, and the core idea hasn't changed across any of its adaptations. This story is fundamentally about the war between civilization and savagery, and the uncomfortable truth that human beings, even children, carry the capacity for real evil. Netflix's 4-episode series leans into that hard, and the deaths are where that theme becomes impossible to ignore. Now here's something worth noting up front. The show itself acknowledges that there were probably far more deaths than the main characters ever actually knew about. The series opens after a plane crash on an isolated island. All the adults on board were killed, and given the chaos of that crash, it's very likely some children died too before the story even properly begins. By episode 4, Ralph had already lost count of how many kids were even on the island. That detail alone sets the tone perfectly. Honestly, that's such a deliberate and unsettling creative choice, making the audience feel the scale of the loss before the real story even gets going. The first body the boys actually encounter is the pilot, still strapped into his ejected seat. He's already dead, and the boys have to decide what to do with the body. Now here's where it gets interesting. Piggy argued that they should handle the body with respect. It wasn't right to treat a dead man carelessly. But Jack pushed back, actually blaming the pilot for the crash, using that as justification for disrespecting the corpse. They couldn't carry the body to the sea, so Jack decided they'd simply push it off a cliff. And the boys went along with it. More than that, they wanted to watch. That right there is the first crack. Nobody had turned fully savage yet, but that quiet enjoyment of something dark, that's the seed. The pilot's death isn't dramatic, but it's the earliest warning sign the show gives us, and it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention. This one is genuinely heartbreaking. Early on, the boys set a signal fire to attract rescue ships. Piggy warned them too much wood, too dry, it's dangerous. Nobody listened. The fire spreads out of control and overtakes half the island. Most of the older boys survive because a cliff acts as a natural barrier, but the younger children, the Litlans, were asleep on the wrong side. Piggy, Ralph, and the others tried to wake them, tried to save them. But in the chaos, a young boy, the one with the birthmark on his face, the same boy who first warned everyone about the beast, simply vanished. No dramatic moment, no goodbye, just gone. And then, almost immediately, nobody seemed to remember him at all. That detail is what makes this death so powerful. It's not just that a child died because of reckless decisions, it's that the other boys moved on instantly, as if he never existed. That's exactly how atrocities work in the real world too. Casualties get forgotten, and this show is willing to say that out loud. This one is a little different because the parachutist was either already dead when he landed or died on impact. His body got tangled in the trees, decomposing slowly while the parachute billowed around him. To the children, it looked like a monster, the beast they'd been terrified of. It was just a dead man. In the original novel, the parachutist came from an air battle happening above the island, a direct symbol of adult warfare mirrored in miniature by the boys below. He represents the savagery of the grown-up world bleeding down onto the island. And as the so-called beast, his rotting corpse became the thing that pushed the children fully over the edge into total savagery. The real monster was never out there in the woods, it was always inside them. The parachutist's death just gave that fear a physical form. Now this is the death that officially signals the point of no return. Simon was the one character who actually figured out the truth, that the beast wasn't real, that the decomposed parachutist was the source of the fear, and that the real darkness lived within the boys themselves. He tried to bring that truth back to the group. He never got the chance. The boys, already whipped into a frenzy by the storm, the dancing, and the promise of killing the beast, saw Simon emerge from the woods and mistook him for the monster. They stabbed him to death. Simon represented pure goodness in this story. Kindness, honesty, empathy, even toward Jack, who treated him terribly. And the fact that goodness itself was what they destroyed in that moment is not subtle symbolism. It's the show looking directly at the audience and saying, this is what happens when fear wins. Had anyone listened to Simon, things might have ended very differently. And then there's Piggy, the last death, and the most devastating one. After Simon was gone, Jack and his group raided Ralph's camp and stole Piggy's glasses. Piggy, being who he was, wanted to give Jack one final chance to make the right choice. So he and Ralph walked into the hunter's camp carrying the conch, the symbol of order, democracy, and civilized decision-making. Roger threw a boulder. It struck Piggy in the head. As Piggy fell, the conch shattered. In the original novel, Piggy died instantly. In this Netflix adaptation, his death is slower and more drawn out, and honestly more painful because of it. Ralph desperately tried to save him. Piggy stayed sharp and warm right until the end. He just lost too much blood. Piggy stood for intelligence and rational thinking, the exact opposite of what savagery needs to survive. With both him and Simon gone, Ralph was completely alone against Jack. Reason and goodness wiped out. What was left was inevitable. Personally, I think what Netflix's Lord of the Flies does so well is making every death feel earned and meaningful, not just violent for the sake of it. Each loss peels back another layer of civilization until there's nothing left. And what's left is honestly more disturbing than any monster could ever be. From a viewer's perspective, understanding what each death represents completely changes how you experience the show. It stops being just a survival story and becomes something much heavier. So what do you think? Which death hit you the hardest? And do you think the show handled the source material well? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more updates like this. This is Movizo. I'll see you in the next one.